Welcome to Pagan Coffee Talk. If you enjoy our content, please consider donating and following our socials. Now, here are your hosts, Lady Alba and Lord Knight.
So, I went down a rabbit hole of a young lady named Georgina Rose.
I'm sorry, I did start that.
You did. You were partially responsible here. And not in a bad way, though. I'm going to take you on this little journey that I went down and try to summarize it. So Georgina Rose is an internet pagan. I'm going to call her that because I don't know if she identifies as a witch or whatever. I'm not sure. Here are the facts, or what I'm able to glean on the surface. She's relatively young, easily under the age of 30, possibly no older than 25. That's the first thing. Second of all, she's very cute. She's a very attractive girl.
She's adorable.
Yes. Number 3. Like most people who are making waves on social media, she is very tech savvy and she is very well versed in social media tactics and YouTube and how to distribute information and how to also stir the pot.
Right. She seems to be having a little bit of background in marketing.
Well, I don't know about that. Maybe. When I listened to some of her podcast, of which she's had a couple over the years, but her most recent one, because you sent me the link.
Right.
And what I experienced was this young woman spouting so much information so quickly about historical events in craft, about different beliefs, different figures, different times in history. And immediately I went, who is she? Where did this knowledge come from? I need some understanding of where her education began.
So were you saying you're getting a little bit of an alarm bell here because the language is just a little too flowery?
No, it's not that it was flowery. It was that
I don't know how else to say that.
I was going, this girl is using terms and multi-syllable words that I've never even heard of, and I've been a practicing pagan for the better part of my life, right? I'm 25 plus years, basically from the age of 16 to now, pagan. And I'm going, what the holy hell? Yeah, this girl was spouting things in a way. I was like, I couldn't do that without reading it from a book.
No.
And I've been studying this stuff for longer than she's been alive, I think. So I stopped, I reviewed, and I found very quickly, I never found the answer to her background. I never found the answer to her education, none of that. What I did find, I was expecting to maybe see that she was a theology student.
Right.
Or that she had a degree in theology or world religions or something. No, what I instead found was something that said, Georgina Rose controversy. Immediately I click on it. I'm like, all right, what's going on here? So again, the crib notes of that is that she has been accused of being a neo-Nazi.
Oh, big surprise there.
Based on association, because people on the internet stalked her and took pictures of events, of interactions with her, with other members of the pagan community who are potentially tied to neo-Nazism, and immediately branded her as such. And I went, all right, first of all, guilt by association in our community, that's bullshit. No. Knock it off.
That's some witch burning time stuff.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. But again, I don't know if she's a Nazi or not. I have no freaking clue. But what I do know is I'm sitting here going, how in the world is this, in my view, child who is effectively becoming a spiritual leader, an elder, a teacher, right? On the internet, it's such a phenomenally young age, and with, from what I can tell, no transparency of her background. Why do they even care?
I mean, look, I don't consider myself any scholar or anything like that. But if you go to our page and you actually read my history, it's quite lengthy overall.
And that's my point. Churches, covens, groups throughout the pagan community are usually very clear about the origin story of the people running the group.
Yes.
And how we got there and what we did and what our expertise is and our knowledge base. Now, at no point, again, do we say that we're the end-all be-all, but that's where it comes from. So to hear this young woman, first of all, and this was the funny part, right? She uses all of these big words and terms, and like I said, some of them I've never heard of, and some of the ones I have heard of, I was like, she's mispronouncing that. That's not even how that's said. But I just was seeing all of these reviews and this information about how she was, a rising star in witch talk and becoming a major figure in the pagan community. She had a book deal that was supposed to be forthcoming. She aligns herself with Thelema, and she considers herself a Thelemite, but there's no information to support the fact that she's an initiated Thelemite, which I found a little weird. I noted that in one of her episodes, she actually did talk about how there's 2 different versions of Thelema and how you've got the traditional path with the initiations and then you have just the followers. And I'm like, right there, you're kind of contradicting yourself. You know what I mean? So you're a self-studying Thelemite, which is a little bizarre because solitary practice in Thelema doesn't really exist. It is a group activity, guys. So I found that to be interesting. But again, I was just going, people are taking what this girl, this woman says as fact, and others like her.
Yes.
And then if there's even a teeny tiny misstep, they're done.
Right.
They're done. Canceled. Done.
All right. Think about this. We're sitting here. We're doing this. Any second, the next words that come out of my mouth or come out of yours.
But here's what's interesting. Here's the difference. And this is the thing that really stuck with me on this. There is a reason we are very clear within our dealings with the pagan community and others like us that we are not friends. We are not here to be buddies.
No.
We separate our spiritual life from our personal life because they are 2 different things.
And people are going to find this very cold and calculating. We are here as spiritual leaders to help you, to show you ways to help you grow and continue and to become better than yourself.
Yes. But
that's it.
Anyone could go onto the internet and look at anyone's profile information, public, and find something to disagree with.
Somewhere.
Or to use against that individual.
Yes.
And that is what's nuts about this. The girl, as far as I can tell, didn't do anything wrong.
No.
She didn't say anything that was excessively controversial. I mean, but that's what people are, they're picking. They're picking at these threads.
These non-consequential threads.
Exactly. And then they're extracting information from them out of context and using it against people. And I'm like, wait just a goddamn minute here. What the hell? Why? Again, why is it everybody's mission to take down everyone else? Now, in that world, I can assume a few things. I can go, sure, because there's some other, I'm going to use the term neo-pagan, who's out on the internet trying to gain followers and supporters. And right, if I can make her look bad, then I elevate myself.
Yes.
Maybe I can gain more of, gain her followers or pick up the slack or what. That is not craft.
No, people are trying to have that viral moment, that where they say something, they go wild. I think that's what it is, and they're just saying more and more wild stuff and trying to just whatever they can just to put it out there.
Find me a Buddhist monk trying to have a viral moment.
Thank you.
What is happening? Again, I'm back to how did we get here?
Find me any Christian pastor looking for a viral moment.
That's well, at least the ones, the ones who are running a good solid church. Yeah. But even still, if they were looking for a viral moment, it's one of positivity. It's one of, again, it's of their teachings, of their beliefs, of their practice. It's not about them. It's about making the church go viral. It's about making the message go viral. Exactly. Who said it, started it, whatever, that's not what matters. So this poor girl is being persecuted.
Yeah.
And now this slow climb back into the good graces of the pagan community. I am just baffled. It brings me to what I think is an interesting idea here. When did esoteric practices and occult practices become separate from faith? Are they? Are they not?
Most of them are non-religious.
But that's
unlike
what I
it is spiritual, but it's because most of the people I've seen in there, some of them are Christians and doing this. Some of them are. It's very weird. I don't understand it.
But this is something we need to understand.
Right.
Because the grand majority of people on things like Witch Talk do not consider themselves to be Wiccan or witches. They despise organized religion.
Yes.
And so they call themselves esoteric practitioners or occultists. And I'm like, all right. But there is still spirituality in that.
Yes.
If you look at Crowley was a cultist, the Order of the Golden Dawn, the whole Thelemite thing.
I mean, there are still religious contexts and references throughout the whole entire thing.
So how do you how are we becoming this thing of like, well, I'm an esoteric practitioner, but I don't believe in, witchcraft or what? I'm so baffled by all of this and I can't help but go, are these people just power hungry?
I think so, because the majority of times you go watch them, all you ever hear from them is spell this or spell that, and
that's very strange to me. Is it still that they're using, like a lot of people have throughout history, right? They're using these practices for self-gain and for materialism and for
self-justification.
Right.
I am justified in doing this because I believe this way.
I really struggle with that because
people do not want ethical standards placed on them.
But see, the problem that I have with it is most esoteric practices, most occultism, high magic, right, whatever you want to call it, it's very disciplined.
Yes.
It's very orderly. And it requires an intense amount of time and focus.
And a lot of patience.
Yeah. So you're going to tell me that you're able to dedicate yourself to that, but that you don't think it's religious?
No, I don't think it's actually religious. I think it's spiritual. I don't think it's religious.
How could it not be? How are we separating the two? Why are we separating the two?
I'm not sure, but for some reason in my head, it keeps on coming up to that. Because not everyone is following the same ethical structure. Everybody's following a different beliefs within this. This is just a magic force.
But that's what I mean. But they're not. Because if you have a group of Thelemites...
I mean, it's almost like they've taken it to a almost scientific structure to some extent.
And that's what bothers me. Again, we're stripping
away
the spirit. We're stripping away God. We're stripping away the religious component. And then what are we left with?
You got to remember, it in the pagan community and most of our religions, there is a line basically that we are the gods.
Yes, and esoteric practitioners absolutely believe.
All right. Again,
deity
I think
residing in
this
everyone.
has been taken to an arrogant place in craft, because our relationship to this relationship is like your relationship with your toenails.
But all the people, that's funny. All the people, though, that are tied to esoteric practices are egotistical.
Yes.
All of them. They were all egomaniacal. They were all, just to be able, right, to do what they did so publicly and to form it.
Yes.
But how do we reconcile the fact that it has a place within something like craft, or do we not? Is it utterly and completely separate?
No. I don't think it's completely separate.
I don't think so either.
You know, I see aspects in even in our own tradition that reflects what was going on there. So
but
again, there's
chicken or the egg, right? Which came first? How were they introduced?
Read, what is that? Read Drawing Down the Moon?
Drawing Down the Moon, yeah.
Yeah, you read that, you'll care less about this witch politics stuff. You'll be like, I don't care.
But but the point of the matter is still, these folks are out there, and again, they're a force right now on the internet.
Yes.
And if you have figures like Georgina Rose teaching people these things, it's
you find it more strange that people are not questioning her actual credentials, but instead they're coming after on this.
Right. And I think that a lot of, what I'm going to call the esoteric hoopla, it's because, we can all apply it in various ways to our beliefs. But some of these folks seem to be existing without a belief structure that they're then bringing occult practices into. So I'm just, I'm baffled. How does that work?
There is a large section of the populace of our community, and all they ever do is spell work. They don't do nothing else. They don't do the full moons. Their full moons is for me to do another money spell. It's for me to do another this spell. It's not to worship the gods.
And that's what's interesting. So Georgina went down a pretty intense discussion in one of her podcast episodes, talking about how she believes that, Wicca is in trouble. And for all intents and purposes, she would group us in with Wicca.
Yes.
She does not believe there's a difference. She talks about the practices of witchcraft, what you and I call traditional craft, as merely a division of Wicca. It's all the same, and how it has sort of peaked. It has hit its height, and now people are turning away from it. And they're turning away from it because, again, they don't like the organized component. But
they're walking straight into organized religion. Because, again, I have heard the same thing, but the Christian numbers are supposedly on their way back up.
A little bit, yeah, but not as much. Everyone's still kind of struggling with that. But I do find that fascinating, that I go, you're not okay, or you see an issue with a group of pagans coming together and following a systematic structure that is rule oriented, and it's considered to be that we're too high and mighty. I don't know. We're just We're too full of ourselves. But yet you're okay with going into esoteric and occult practices. They're so complex. They require total, utter, and complete discipline of body, mind, and spirit. And I'm like, what? Look, I have gone down some of the John D rabbit holes that oh my God, De Cochran. Some of these practices, I'm like,
there's no way.
That's intense, y'all. That is some serious attention to detail. And I'm one of the most detail-oriented people I know.
I have heard of spells that take up to a year prep.
Yes.
Not the actual prep.
It's absurd. And I mean, I don't mean that it's absurd in that it's wrong.
It just seems an absurd amount of work for one spell.
Right. And I can't help but go, if people were willing to take that effort and turn it towards the community, we could do so much more. What is the purpose in all of these practices if it's purely selfish and you're only looking out for yourself and there's no interaction with others of a similar mind? Why? What is the goddamn point?
Because you do not agree with me 100%.
Oh.
Because again, we're back to this subject.
Listen.
Everyone is sitting there going, no, you must believe my way. I tell you what's right.
I have known you for 20 years. I have never agreed 100% with anything that you've ever said. You know what I mean? And we're still sitting here working together.
Yes.
Well, I don't understand the issue. Find me a married couple that agrees 100% on everything.
Never happens.
Never going to happen. So why this need for such a black and white view on spirituality?
I don't know.
It's
it seems more like a power trip. It seems more like people are just, I have to have this power for myself. People must follow us.
It is scary. And
here's the sad part, and I don't know, and you probably haven't noticed it yet. People out there like me and you that keep on saying the same thing over and over again, we're the ones people aren't listening to.
I know that.
Really, in these large numbers.
I know that. And that's, again, part of where I go, what is going on? Because I cannot find a discernible reason as to why people are turning away from organized paganism the same way I can with some other religions. I can see the central themes that are creating some of the animosity.
Right.
But I look at us and I go, the first thing we tell you when you walk in the door is we don't care what you believe.
No.
We don't care what you do at home. We don't care what you practice.
It's not my business.
Yeah, we don't give a shit.
If you want to go home and talk to demons,
go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Please do not bring them here. Leave them at home.
Don't call me and ask me to come participate.
Hey,
I'm probably not gonna, but I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll be bored on Tuesday. I don't know. You know, I'm just saying it. But we tell people you do not have to. There's no Kool-Aid you got to drink here.
No,
none.
All we're saying is, hey, when we come together, we're going to cast circle this way. That way, everybody's on the same page. Everybody knows what's going on.
This is what we're teaching. This is how we're casting circle. This is the calendar we're following. These are our joint affairs, missions, etc. I mean, it's very...
this is how we are going to structure our rituals and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And I sit here and I go, and what are most pagan groups doing? They're holding gathers. They're doing fundraisers. Right?
Right.
Many of them are supporting things like food banks. Some of them are trying to have, some aspect of youth outreach in the community. That's it. What is wrong with any of that? Why has that become bad?
The cleaning of the highway and stuff like that. Now, again, putting up the sign, that's a different subject we need to cover one day.
That's true. But yeah, adopt a highway, that sort of thing.
Again, there's nothing wrong with these programs.
No. And I look at, comparatively, I look at the fact that LGBTQ rights and community, that's become a big part of pagan ideals and, the incorporation of those rights, diversity, all of it. But here's what I find so funny. If you have a group of queer friends, it's like herding cats.
Yes.
To get them on the same page to do anything, all right? And I love them dearly. But every June, Pride hits, and it's like the gays mobilize. Right?
No, y'all don't understand. That takes a year of planning.
A year of planning. But all of a
right.
sudden, the gays mobilize, there is order, there is structure, there is purpose, right? There are all these things that are being done, and people are participating. And pagans are participating. And I go, that's organized, people.
This is the same thing as organized religion.
Right. Do you not think that the committee that holds Pride in your local city, oh my God. Oh my God.
Wait. Why do you not think that the majority of the time there's at least one pastor or some religious leader on the board?
Absolutely.
This is why.
And it takes a tremendous amount of effort and money and awareness and community outreach throughout the course of the year to make a successful Pride happen. And that is one frickin' event.
Yep.
And here we are holding 13 moons, 8 Sabbats. Come on. This is no small feat.
And we're not even talking about any of the extra rituals.
Right. So, death rites, marriages, births,
Wiccanings, whatever.
But yet, everybody's like, no, I don't want to be part of that. It's so strange.
Was not the point, and I could be wrong, was not the point. The reason for this religion was the ritual itself. Was that not the point, to spend time walking among the gods?
As far as I know.
And why in the world do I think I suddenly sound like, Billy Graham?
I know.
And I'm like, what happened to me?
It's ironic because we've heard this statement so many times now. Coven numbers are dwindling. Pagan churches are struggling with numbers, yet craft is more prevalent than ever.
Because everyone wants to take the easy way. No one actually wants to work.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't get it. It doesn't make no sense to me.
I think it's perception. I think that honestly, genuinely, and truly all it is. It's perception, and the perceptions are incorrect. And if you want to experience it, if you're even remotely on the fence, it's time. Reach out to a group and confirm for yourself whether or not the group is doing something beneficial for the whole of the pagan community.
I mean,
that's it.
I mean, and again, getting initiated, the majority of the times, especially in traditional covens and stuff like that, getting initiated is a choice.
Yes.
You can always look at them and go, no, I'm good. I'm good. Do so many classes. Nope. Yeah. Don't like where in the world this is going. I'm going to go check out somebody else.
There are some people that honestly just don't ever want to get initiated. They just wanted to learn. They just wanted to take classes. And that's fine too. But, But
coming to do it for a check mark.
Yeah.
Or something like that. No.
I'm going to say 2 things to kind of wrap up this discussion. One is, give us your opinions, please. Write in, talk to us, comment on the episode. Tell us why you think that numbers are struggling and covens are dealing with this. And there is such a huge chasm right now between individual or occult practices and organized paganism.
And if you're listening on your phone, you can always go to our Buzzsprout and you can text us from that link.
Yeah, there's a new text feature with Buzzsprout where you can literally text us a message.
Right. As you're listening there, if you hear something, you're like, oh, no, I'm going to have to.
Yes, please do. And the other thing is, if you are listening to this, if you are in support of the kinds of things we're doing and that we're saying, and you want, for Pagan Coffee Talk and Life Temple and Seminary to continue to be able to provide these services, please consider donating. Even just a little bit of money helps us to keep the podcast around. It helps us to cover costs. We talk about this a lot. Pagan churches, for the most part, with a few small exceptions in large cities, we're flat broke all the time.
Yes.
The church itself has no money, okay? But, you have more in your personal checking account than the church does any day of the week, guaranteed. But even a few dollars helps us to continue what we're doing, and with supplies, and even just the cost of things like the podcast, the websites, gosh, we go through it all the time with new members, between books and ritual robes and materials. We don't deny anybody.
Well, see, there are certain books that I know both of us seem to buy on a regular basis because everybody winds up borrowing it.
Stockpile them, for new students, absolutely. Because we, as an organization, too, like many others, are so against proselytizing and going out there and trying to get, drum up big fundraising events. Instead, this is how we do it. consider taking your coffee money, right? One latte, one cappuccino, and donate it to us so we can continue this. But please join the discussion. We welcome it, and cheers. We'll raise a cup of coffee to you.
Are we getting coffee?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another episode. Pagan Coffee Talk is brought to you by Life Temple and Seminary. Please visit us at lifetempleseminary.org for more information, as well as links to our social media: Facebook, Discord, Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit.
We travel down this trodden path, a maze of stone and mire. Just hold my hand as we pass by a sea of blazing pyres. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning breaks. And so it is the end of our days, so